After the big circus, Vincent next appeared in the 1959 sci-fi sequel, Return of the Fly. A follow-up to the 1958 film The Fly, this film takes place 15 years after the original. The film begins with the funeral of Helen Delambre, wife to scientist Andre from the first film. Present at her funeral are her son Philippe, played by Brett Halsey, and Uncle Francois, played by Vincent Price. Upset over his mother's death, Philippe begs Francois to tell him the true story of his father's death. Francois gives in, taking him to his father's laboratory, which is still in ruins. Philippe has been aware of his father's experiments with teleportation and vows to continue his work, which Francois vehemently discourages. Philippe sets up a new laboratory in the basement of his grandfather's mansion and hires a scientist named Alan Hines, played by David Frankham, to assist him. Running low on funds, Philippe convinces Francois to pitch in money to assist him by threatening to sell his half of the family business. It turns out that, unfortunately, Philippe's trust in Alan is misplaced. He is actually a British fugitive from the law named Ronald Holmes and is planning to steal the plans to the teleportation machine and sell them. After several successful attempts with non-living matter, the group decides to test the machine on a guinea pig. They disintegrate it, but decide to leave it in stasis and reintegrate it the following morning. That evening, a police officer named Inspector Evans, played by Pat O'Hara, tracks Alan to the lab and finds him taking pictures of the machinery plans. There is a struggle and the inspector is knocked unconscious. Alan places him into the chamber and disintegrates him. Philippe hears the noise and comes down to check on things in the lab. Alan assures him that everything is okay, and once Philippe leaves, he reintegrates the inspector with horrific results. The inspector's body has now fused with that of the previously disintegrated guinea pig, leaving him with rodent hands and feet, and the rodent with human extremities. Alan crushes the guinea pig, then removes both it and the inspector's body, placing them in the trunk of his car for further disposal. When he returns to the lab, he finds Philippe there again, who questions him about the blood on the floor. There is another struggle and Philippe is also knocked unconscious. Alan puts Philippe's body into the chamber, then catches a fly and tosses it in as well before activating the machine. Alan flees the laboratory, shooting Francois in the stomach on his way out. Before he collapses, Francois reactivates the machinery, which reintegrates Philippe, once again with horrific results. He now has the head, arm, and leg of a fly in place of his own. He smashes out of the chamber and skulks away into the night. A fly with the head of Philippe is captured the following day in the lab by Police Inspector Beecham, played by John Sutton. The Philippe fly manages to track down and murder both Alan and the criminal he is working with, a man named Max. He makes his way back to the lab, and Francois and Inspector Beecham place both he and the fly into the chamber. When they are sent through the machine a second time, their genes are properly reassembled and both are returned to normal. Return of the Fly was written and directed by Edward Burns for 20th Century Fox. Unlike its predecessor, it isn't in color, presumably shot in black and white as a cost-cutting measure. Vincent would appear with actor Brett Halsey, who played Philippe in this film, again in 1963 in the film Twice Told Tales. He would appear twice more with David Frankham, who played Alan Hines, in Master of the World in 1961 and Tales of Terror in 1962. John Sutton, who played Inspector Beecham in this film, and Price were old pals. They appeared in a total of 8 films throughout the 30s through the 50s, beginning with Tower of London in 1939 and ending with The Bat in 1959. Return of the Fly would be followed by Curse of the Fly, the 3rd film in the Fly trilogy. There's an interesting sequence in this film where Alan is holding a cane that looks very much like the one from the Universal film, The Wolfman. I don't think it's the same one, but it's held on screen for a long time, center screen. It makes one wonder. Vincent Price was the only cast member from the original film to return for the sequel. It's a much better part for him, however, with much more screen time. Return is a bit hokey, and the makeup for the monster is far inferior to the first film. However, the movie does have a fun B-movie feel to it, and Price makes the most of his role. So much so that he would become forever associated with it in people's minds. In fact, Price even appeared on The Red Skelton Show in 1968 with fellow guest Boris Karloff, and the two sang a duet called The Two of Us, where Price mentions he was the fly.
of us. There's lots of gory pictures for the two of us. He used to shine as Frankenstein and I was the fly. They forced us to die every time to pay for the crime. They killed the two of us, but we'll be always traveling on.
Of course he wasn't, but by that point, who cares? It's all in fun. Next up, Price will be reunited with director William Castle in another gimmick-laden classic, The Tingler.
It will haunt you for the rest of your life.
Thanks a lot, Citibank. You had to make your Visa and MasterCard better than other banks. Just by using them, we earn bonuses called City Dollars. Now, they could have saved us up to 40% on a color TV or a stereo. But we used ours to get something strictly for Vincent's amusement.
Oh, isn't it wonderful?
Citibank's Visa and MasterCard. It's Citibank that makes them better.